Hi, Dr. Tennant. Um, I feel convicted um, to kind of speak out, not to really document, but just in my mind, what it took to get to where I am now, with the world's most painful disorders, 12 of them, and I guess I will name some of them to give you an idea of the things I've been through. But this is because, Dr. Tennant, I wrote to you. You like to know more things about what people go through and what approaches people take to treat their pain. And I know you probably don't just treat adhesive arachnoiditis and arachnoiditis. You probably treat cancer. You probably treat CRPS and those types of pains. And so in no way what I say, I mean, am I exalting myself in any way? I was in some very humbling positions, like the most humbling positions you could ever be put in. My story is a story of suicide as well. I just, that was a fact with adhesive arachnoiditis and other things that I was dealing with. So I wrote you probably maybe four pieces, and I just my life got too busy and I didn't do any more. So I just want to make this. I'll try to make this short. I'll probably take an hour to do this, and whatever I say, don't take anything in the wrong way, people who have AA, because what I'm speaking is the truth. And I've been to hell and back, to places that most people in this world have never been. So how is it possible that a guy with adhesive arachnoiditis, degenerative disc disease, 3 acute abdominal disorders, injured neck, injured shoulder, very severe injuries, full body intractable pain like CRPS, but full body. How is it possible that I'm literally going door to door, working, selling things? How is it possible that I'm about to go into university? I'm going to be riding a motorcycle very soon. How can I do all this with all this pain? How is it possible? Well, I'll tell you that, and I'm very breathless too. I have a dystonic-like throat disorder. It's just different muscles. One is abductor and the other adductor. It's called throat dysphonia, not psychological. Torn back in 5 places too, that I just retore today, probably just a small bit, by trying to lift something too heavy. How is it possible that I'm doing all these things with that? Number one is experience, okay? Before I ever had pain in my life, I went through a lot of different traumas in my life, and I've worked through those now, and you're always working through those, but I was used to psychological torment already through bipolar disorder, autism, and I had a tough life. That could be one factor right there, that I already knew what suffering was. And, I know what it's like to have suicidal thoughts and all that. I don't want to talk too much about that. I got pain in 2004 because of a serious medication interaction called the serotonin syndrome. I ended up getting so many convulsions. My neck tore, pain spread into my face, into my body, and I've been diagnosed with the nosoplastic pain syndrome. And it's just like CRPS, burning, stabbing, skin burning, all that type of stuff. 2004, that was. Nobody was telling me what it was. 2007, I tried to take my life in a very serious manner. I shot myself, okay? I'm not going to leave things out. That's why I suffer with so many abdominal disorders today. And I lived, and I should not have lived. I'm really not gonna. I had a couple more suicide attempts on my life, and they were very serious to my shoulder and to my neck because I couldn't tolerate adhesive arachnoiditis and my other pain disorder. And boy, did my life ever get much more rough. Like a brachial plexus, a torn sternocleidomastoid. These are permanent injuries. Trigeminal neuralgia because of I hit all the nerves. This isn't to put people down. I'm telling you how to get up. This is more of like to help you, to prevent you from ever getting to that point. And I understand just as much as anybody what the pain suicide diseases can make a person do. So the answer, this may be a long journey for you. This may not. In videos like this, you may listen to this and you may get more hope. I may have an advantage, and I believe that advantage is 2 things, 3 things. The things I've been through in my life already, psychological and physical suffering. Autism. Why autism? People with autism have a different mindset, a different tolerance to certain things. A person with autism may be able to tolerate what they know they have for life, let's say, better than a person who is struggling with it. People with autism are known to have long endurance, and that is true of my life. Like I remember I biked for my mom for cancer. I biked 1,000 kilometers with adhesive arachnoiditis, not even diagnosed. That type of thing, like willpower, it's just instilled in people with autism. But it could be the smallest little thing that you're able to tolerate that I'm not, that might bug the heck out of me, like sensory processing disorder, whatever it may be. It may be something new that happens. They're different brain waves. It's like a different structure in the brain, the different operating systems. I'm in a lot of pain now. See, I worked today. I walked out in the heat with my legs burning, stabbing, the scorpion-like shocks, stings. But I tolerate that, and I biked to the places I have to go. I don't have my insurance yet for my motorcycle. I'm waiting. It's very, very close. Yeah, I was just lifting stuff, looking for something, and I lifted up something heavy, and my back just got repaired from being torn again, so it's probably just a little tear, probably just retore a tiny bit. I don't believe in holding things back, telling people things, telling the truth. If I tried to kill myself, I'm going to tell you that's what I did. I went for 3 full years not being told that I had the pain suicide disease. Not AA, the one before that. I was struggling. I was in a lot of trouble. You say, well, you look fine or something like that. Well, in 2015-16, I was still couch bound, bed bound for nearly a decade. So don't tell me that I don't know what it's like. My father, you see how thin I am, right? So I'm about 125 pounds. This is because of my abdominal disorders. It makes my weight go low. And that's another thing I have to compensate for, which is tough. I do workouts every single morning. I never fails. unless, I have to try to heal my back or I get something like a stomach flu, which I did. I was in the worst positions, is what I'm trying to say, too. My dad was coming to my room 3 times a day. I couldn't wait for each time to give me a shot of Toradol. I didn't realize I just could have taken it orally, and I had over 1,000 shots. That recorded the most in Canada that anyone has ever been given in that period of time. I went on to later develop 4 peptic ulcers, but only after a decade's use. Pretty lucky. So the things that were in my favor were this. Autism? Maybe. I believe so, because I'm persistent. I push and push and push. The things suffering in my life, number 2. And actually, number 1 is God. You're going to say, oh, not this God stuff. And I'm going to make it very clear to something that I read in the AA survival manual, which said, and I don't mean anything by this, okay? Because I know full well that God is real. You can see by the things that are happening these days. Anyways, that's your choice if you want to believe or not, but he's my driving force in this. I can't do this without him. But it says in there, consult your God, but, don't count on that. And I fully understand what that means. But once I became a born-again Christian, it was just the opposite. I'm like, you can't do this without God and still have hope. That was my case, okay? Because you got to find something. You got to find something to believe in, to look forward to. I know how bad this pain is. You know what? I still get in pain flares if I lift the wrong way. You know what? I dropped a key in a forest. Mountain biking. I make mountain biking videos sometimes. Just been too busy lately. I dropped the key and I had to go back and get it, and I went and I walked. I forget what had happened to me. Maybe I lifted the wrong way or I did something. But the whole walk there and the whole walk back, all I could think of this is end of life pain. I was walking, luckily it was like 10 at night, and I'm going down the streets and you could hear the echo of me moaning. A type of pain you cannot hold in because the pain is so bad. Thankfully that doesn't happen to me a lot. I keep myself in good physical condition. I make sure I do. I eat right. I watch okay, listen. You're not going to get very far with AA, and especially if you have concurrent disorders, if you don't do some type of workout, walks, keep yourself in shape if you can walk. Guys, I couldn't walk 10 or 100 feet when I moved in this building 6 years ago. There were people with, old people with canes passing me. I remember a person walking with a walker passed me in the hallway. What are you going to do without some type of thing to hold on to, some type of faith? And if you're alone like me, there was another factor. I didn't get along with my dad in close quarters, so I had to move here alone with 12 mostly undiagnosed pain disorders at that time. Can you imagine? I was ruined psychologically and physically, and I didn't have my diagnosis. I didn't know I had autism. I knew, but it wasn't diagnosed yet. So it's been diagnosed. I didn't know what those things were, and it was hell to go through that. I went through that for 13 and 18 years. It was a revolving cycle in my head that caused me a lot of shame. Go walking into clinics and there's someone with half the pain that you have, and you're literally jealous because they have a label. But when you walk in, say you have AA, there were a lot of symptoms I needed answers for, and there were a lot of looks that I got. And it was written in one place was symptomatic disorder or something like that. Those things really, really hurt me. They hurt me. And what is the other thing, the other factor? God, autism, the things that suffered my life. So there's 4. Already being on pain medication. So this is for adhesive arachnoiditis, but you can apply it to anything. Adhesive arachnoiditis is a different disease. It's one that can steal your soul. Devil's disease, disease of no hope. Is that for a reason? Because the pain can get horrific if you're not medicated. So I was already on some medications that were very helpful. Lorazepam, my seizures, and because of what the serotonin syndrome had done to me, they helped. Listen, if you're got addiction problems, don't even go down that route. But if it's so bad, I'm not going to say whatever. I already happen to be on gabapentin for mood disorder. 2,700 high dose. And I know that helps. That helps neuropathic pain. I have a lot of damage in my neck and shoulder. And I can tell you, when I take that, I notice a difference. And I make sure I spread my gabapentin out morning, noon, night. I put my stuff in bottles. Label your stuff so you're not fumbling around at the last second. And I put one on my dresser too, so 4 of them that night. So I have gabapentin, so I don't try to lessen my leg pain. I'm positive because it treats restless leg syndrome and neuropathic pain. I remember feeling really embarrassed. It was 2018. I'd been here barely any time. 2019. And I had to go to the hospital because of, I forget what it was. It could be something to do with my gallbladder. It could have been. And I was in there. Oh, I know. It was because I was only on a short acting opioid. Okay, I wasn't on long acting yet, which changed my life. But I wasn't taking it because I have very severe adhesions from my sternum to my pelvis. That really complicated my life. I endured a lot of hell coming off opiates, going back on, doing that back and forth 112 times. Can you imagine how much withdrawal I had to tolerate? Yes, I went all the way through to reach analgesic effect because they would die on me after 3 weeks. I would have to withdraw and go back on. Sounds crazy, but my pain was so bad that I'd rather go through that than do a slow withdrawal and not have pain management. It was a risk for me with my abdominal pain. I have something called the splenic flexure syndrome, which really messes things up. I didn't understand how to treat the splenic flexure syndrome while on opiates, let alone just by itself. I didn't know what it really was. So I had to come up with a system to go to the bathroom with the splenic flexure syndrome. All of a sudden I lost like 85% of foods you could eat. That was really, really tough. And of course I couldn't walk, really. So I went to the hospital and my nails were so bad on my feet, probably from being dependent. Like I would be on a couch if I was couch dependent, my legs would be up, okay, to my chest because I couldn't put them out flat. I'm sure you understand. Same in my bed. My knees were up because the pain, it was like, take a butter knife on the back, it would split open. That's how much pain it was. She said, you need intense therapy. You need intensive, full therapy. And, I felt offended. Here I am sitting there. I've been treated for intractable pain, whatever type it was. No one was ever good enough to put a proper label, even though they said it was bad. That's all they told me, and that's why I tried to take my life, because no one would give me a diagnosis. They didn't say really bad things, but they wouldn't give me a diagnosis, and so something had to change. The likelihood that you face 12 pain disorders is probably quite low. And I say this because when I moved out on my own, I had a lot of different challenges. Living on my own, paying my bills, going for walks, cleaning everything in my apartment, doing a whole lot of new stuff with a virtually decayed body. I used to be 187 pounds, no fat, okay? I was a muscular guy. I still am, but I lost a lot of that, a lot of flesh. I had to get in shape again. I had to drink more. I had to up my diet. I had to be very serious about my life. But one thing happened. One thing happened before I left my home. And it was actually all thanks to the opioid crisis. Go figure. I had a doctor who wasn't being good to me anymore. For one reason, because, they're fed up not knowing what thing's wrong with you and stuff like that. And it was just a hassle. He told me one day, because of the opioid crisis, that he was going to reduce my short-acting painkiller, and I wasn't willing to take long-acting because it would hurt my abdomen. It would last longer, and it would cause a lot more constipation. I had to learn how to go to the bathroom. When I say terminal cancer equivalent pain, you damn well know the people who are a family member or a sufferer know that that's exactly what it is. If you are not treated properly with pain medication, that's what it is. But if you take the measures that I do, it makes it a lot more tolerable. So I was on 5 to help me, go along my day. I would take a 5 milligram oxycodone in the morning, and I would do it 5 times, and one for bed. 5 in all, 25 milligrams. That's all I was on. Because I refused to take long-acting. Remember, I was taking OxyContin. Those were the days. Unfortunately, when my pain began, it was OxyContin, and those were tough times. He said, I'm only giving you 3, because that's the maximum I can give you. Like, what the heck is this guy doing? I'm not abusing it. So he's putting it down to 3, and he's like, take the long acting. And what he was doing was very unfair. He'd been prescribing me for 10 years. So like, what gives? I stood up to him in his office, and he said, yes, you're right. It is the opioid crisis. So it was. I just wanted to know that answer. Then he makes me go out into the office by myself and fill out a sheet in the state that I was in, and I had a meltdown in his office. I'm not usually like that. I believe it was autistic meltdown, sensory overload. Then I was stuck with a choice. I can't go to bed without a painkiller, So I had to, how am I gonna, I eat 7 meals, small meals throughout the day because of my abdominal disorders. How am I gonna do this? The reason I went to the hospital that I was telling you about, where the woman said that, was because when my oxycodone would wear off, which was after no more than 3 hours, I was dragging my feet around my home, and I thought that was called drop foot, and that's why I went there. It could be. I really don't know the answer, but the reality is that I was so weak and tired from pacing my home back and forth. I don't sit down, guys. You see me sitting here because I distract myself with food. That is a sensory trick. I have a plate of food. I rest myself at the end of my night for 3 hours. It rests my body and lets me heal. I get chronic kidney stones because of what happened. You know what I'm talking about? I got that. And I have a permanent gallbladder disorder. Feels like I'm having a gallstone all the time, especially when I'm eating. I take special colic medication for it called hyoscine. Because I got that, I get constant kidney stones. So it's about character. It's about persistence. I'm doing this to show you how much I do suffer. I'm doing this video with a kidney stone. I just pulled my back again. It's character, but it's also medication. I don't expect people to do the same things that I do. I get this faith from God because I recognize I can't move forward. There are certain things I have to do to stay away from a bed and a couch. Not that there's any shame there, guys. Believe me, I was there for 10 years. And my legs burn as I sit here right now. I have to keep moving my body all the time. You can see all the videos I ever make. You can go look at them all. I have several different YouTube channels. I'm going back and forth all the time. I only sit at the end of my night. Only. So imagine I went to his office. Do you know why I went to my doctor's office when he took away that amount of opiate? Told me to take a long acting with it? I was there because I was asking for more opioid. Not much more. Probably one more. Because I was burning out. And then I had my meltdown and everything, and there I was left with 3, but I had the option to take the long acting. Of course, it came to the point where I had to take it. Took the first one. Within 15 to 20 minutes, and especially at 45 minutes, I could speak better. Excuse me. I could even breathe better, because opiates treat breathlessness. It changed my life just like that, because I had shoved that idea away for a number of years, not to do it, because it was hurting the splenic flexure syndrome, which I didn't understand yet. And it was only maybe a month after that I was forced to come to this place or another place to look for some place. Thrust into life, let's just say. But at least I had a lot of experience behind me. I had to start facing who I was psychologically. Got my diagnosis, started to do introspection psychologically. I had to develop certain things, certain behaviors, what could I do in between each dose of medication? Can I do a wash? Can I wash my tub? Can I, do all the calling I have to do for my meds and all that type of stuff? To learn to properly gauge, to estimate the things that I could do in those times. When I take my meds, I eat a meal and I'm usually there for an hour slowly, so I can do work, so I can do all types of stuff, so I let my colic meds work and kick in. But because I was alone and thrust into a world, I had to start building my life even in that pain. I was on Toradol 4 times a day, and it's not good for my system. It worked, and when I eventually took it away, believe me, like my wrecked shoulder, brachial plexus, torn sternocleidomastoid, all those burnings up there, Toradol did really good for those. And when I took it away, I just had to tolerate and eventually get used to not having it. Like a lot more burning in my legs. But when this happened, and I believe I got myocarditis, okay? It was a very serious event. Then I got the gallbladder thing too. On top of all of that, when they were doing investigations, they looked in my stomach and saw 4 peptic ulcers, obviously from Toradol. I'm like, what I'm going through has nothing to do with the peptic ulcers because they weren't bleeding yet. I was forced to have to take the Toradol away to try to heal this before anyone could decide what was really happening to me. I took it away little by little. My doctor said, I'll give you another opiate, 1 or 2 or whatever, to compensate for it. And when I did that, it was a strange trade-off. Letting go of Toradol was a very hard thing after a decade. In case you didn't know, Toradol is also called ketorolac. You know, when you go for an emergency, to the emergency in a hospital, if you have like a gallbladder attack, kidney stones, broken bones, they're meant for broken bones, like your feet, your orthopedics. They'll give you that, and it's very strong. But you're not supposed to have it for like more than 5 days or something, because of risk of GI bleeding, ulcers, all those types of things. And I was very lucky to be able to use it for that long. And the only times they ever took it away, that was twice in those years, I went downhill each time and led to suicide attempt. I'm not kidding you. I didn't know I had adhesive arachnoiditis at that point either. It is possible to take. If you can clean up your diet and don't eat sugar, eat, I have a plate of greens, fish, corn, carrots. I eat clean food, okay? A lot of protein, as recommended. Even though I have kidney stones, that's okay. I combat them with a lot of oranges. So what I'm saying is, get yourself to that point where you bring down all possible inflammation. And if your disease is stable, then you don't need something like Toradol. Unless something like a big pain flare happens. Me personally, after knowing that I had those in my stomach, 4 peptic ulcers, I don't want that again. Even though I feel a lot more burning in my legs. I can walk and bike very far distances. And guys, maybe the difference between me and you is that I'm willing to take a certain amount of pain. And I'm sure a lot of you, or at least some of you, know that already. One big thing is huge, is learning to build your legs again. And I'll tell you about me moving in here and rebuilding my body, because it was a brutal process. And I live in a place of maybe about 3,000 people just in the vicinity, and many of them watched me through their windows every single day struggling with my cane. Like I said, I moved in here in 2018, And I just remember an old woman down my hallway. When I was downstairs, she was like, "Why don't you just walk to the gym?" She was an Italian woman, very heavy accent. I barely knew her. She was trying to push me to go there. I didn't know what I had. I was ashamed. When people asked me what was wrong, I didn't know what to tell them. I have pain. Because they would ask me specifically what it was. I would go out. Yeah, so with her, I remember walking to that gym, and it was like my first long walk. How long was that long walk? Maybe 400 feet. It was hard. I would go out in the park, and every 10 to 50 feet, 10 to 50 feet, I would have to crouch down and punch my legs to take the spasms out. But I persisted and persisted every single day. And I got to the point where it was 2 walks a day. 2 walks a day, almost. Like when I started walking, I'm like, maybe within half a year, I was taking 2 walks a day. I didn't want to miss the outdoors, no matter how much pain I had. And in the winter, I'd walk in the garage. But now I walk in any weather. I just don't care. I dress properly. Canadian winters. It's about toleration. I persisted and persisted, and I finally dropped that cane one day, but it was the switch between Toradol and the opioid. Even though my body was burning more, the opioid helped me with pain to walk further. Yeah, it was better. It was better. So when I get up, I take, and I take 4 10 milligram long acting. They're called Targan, but they're oxycodone long acting. They just help the gut a bit. That's why they're called Targan. With that, I take 12.5 in the morning, and I do that 4 times a day. Anyways, I spread it out, and when I go to bed, I take 1, just a 5, before I go to sleep with the colic medication because I need it in my sleep. It helps me breathe. You're probably going to need sleeping medication. I'm not going to recommend anything because you know how tough it is going to sleep with burning legs. So when I took away that Toradol, I had to start getting used to that. It was really hard. But I mean, it only took about a week, but what I'm talking, what really was hard. You get used to things. You trade off one thing for another. Don't drink a whole lot at once. Drink throughout if you want to. But what I'm saying is drink throughout your whole day. Why? Because water lubricates your joints, right? But it treats the restless leg syndrome. So if you're not drinking enough, you're going to get a lot more cramps and you're already brutal pain in your legs. Drink constantly. It was with coming off the Toradol completely and taking just 20 milligrams extra, 2 10 milligram long acting. I just remember my walks getting better, but I still had that cane. And eventually, with a number of months, I'm like, I'm going to throw away this cane and see if it's just like a crutch, And it was for balance. But I justified needing it too much. All of a sudden, I decided to get on a bike, and that's what built up my legs. For you, it could be a stationary bike. But what I'm telling you is to start building your legs, because your legs mean everything to your balance and to the rest of your body. You know how Bob Marley says, "My feet is my only carriage," right? Your legs are really important. like I said, I have autism, so I'm used to, like, I could go tomorrow and bike 100 miles and endure it. Like I said, I'm not exalting myself. This is just the way I am, and that's just the way my dad is. And of course, I don't expect you to do that, but I hope that if you have good enough pain treatment, that you will persist, that you will push a bit here and there to test yourself. You don't have to stay in one spot, right? One of the biggest keys to treating acute pain, so you guys know this is just called chronic acute pain. The most underestimated of them all is discipline. And that's, I'm sure you know autism and discipline, right? And that's why. If you don't have discipline, your life is going to fall apart. Like I said, put your meds in bottles so you're not fumbling at the last second. That's one discipline. Working out every morning, it doesn't have to be. You can just sit in your chair, lift your arms, do those types of things. Put your leg out like that. What I do, I wake up. I'm not going to give you my whole day, but I work out. When I'm done, I make my food. I shower. I work on my computer. I'm constantly moving because of my pain. I don't want to stay in one spot, because when I stay in one spot, it's very tough. Always shower. Always make sure you do that. Always make sure you get like a walk in or something like that. You got to make these things a habit, a way of life. I hope to God that you'll open up a Bible and or listen to a video. I don't want to make this about that, okay? But finding hope, knowing that there's a next place after this, I'm just saying. So discipline, putting, you're going to bed at the same time, doing the same daily routines. Change them up a bit, not to be boring, right? But don't just sit around and do nothing. For people with burning pain in their legs and all that type of stuff, and just a lot of pain in general, I was using CBD. I can't use cannabis or I can't use marijuana. I can't use that kind of stuff. I have bipolar disorder, so even CBD, which it says on the bottle, if you don't believe me, there's many people who argue against this, debate against this. It was putting me in like a kind of like a psychosis mode. It really was. A lot of anxiety, and I couldn't stop it for some reason. It was helping my pain, but it was making my bipolar a lot worse. It was just increasing the speed of my thoughts. But it is good at the very end of the night. I can tolerate that. It's excellent for sleep. I just use a vaporizer. It's just water. Watch, click it 5 times. One of these is about $100. You put the dried plant, this stuff is, turn it off 5 times. Off. Take the little puff. Without it, I cannot sleep half as good. It's really that good. It helps inflammation and all that type of stuff. And so I'm gonna tell you about my medications, and then tell you something that you can do with those medications that is extremely important for your journey with pain, but especially with this disease. Like I said, I was lucky because I've been on gabapentin since around 2000, and I was switched from lithium to gabapentin. I've just been on it ever since. So about 4 years later, I got my serotonin syndrome, and then I ended up with that pain disorder. And I'm glad that I happen to be on this, because it helps my pain. And so it was especially promising, good, when I got AA. because I feel if I wasn't on it then, when I got this, I would have been I would have been a lot worse. Again, I don't recommend this, but if you're in a very horrible position, I take lorazepam, and my rabbit's trying to escape. I take, the med for my abdomen, my colic medication. I take a short-acting opiate, a long-acting opiate, with that gabapentin, and just give me. I don't abuse. I don't take more than I need ever, unless I'm out and a situation comes up where I always carry a rescue. I just carry a pill bottle, with some extra medications in it just in case, right? Never know when you're going to get stuck in that type of stuff. And so there's gabapentin, and I have it spread out through the day. Low and high-powered opiates, right? Spread throughout the day. And so, am I missing something? So I spread them out throughout the day. Take a sleeping medication at night, and I use the CBD only like at the last seconds before I go to bed, and it works well. And so the things that you do in your day, right? If you're going through your day, you have no hope, you're not doing activities, you better expect that you're going to have bad dreams, you're going to have trouble sleeping, because you don't have hope in life. And I understand. I'm not saying, I'm trying to give you a way. I'm trying to show you a better way. Another underestimated thing, and I would go learn after hearing me say this, drug potentiation. What does that mean? It means you have a medication, like say you take gabapentin. So if you take that alone, that may only do so much for you. But if you add something to it, lorazepam I was saying, like if I add lorazepam to it, it potentiates it. If I add an opiate to that, it potentiates it even more. It expands its effectiveness in you. And that's the way drug potentiation works. And that may really help you. I just want to say for people with adhesive arachnoiditis and arachnoiditis, I'm speaking only to these people right now. For me, I take 2 walks a day, never fail, for 6 years. Pretty close to 6 years, because at the beginning it was just 1 walk. It's pretty close to 6 years though. Even though it may be painful to do, a lot less painful now, because I'm in a lot better shape, because I used a bike to gain a lot of leg strength, and then I just kept building upon that, walking further, that type of thing. I lost track of what I was going to say. I think you understand that that's what happens when you have a lot of pain. Yeah. I think this is probably, for me, this is probably the biggest. Why do you think I work out in the morning? Well, because I'm thin and I got to keep strength, right? Because I live alone. I have to do a lot of things alone. I have a lot of things I do. Because those walks that I take, so if you make sure you walk at least 15 minutes, you can ride out your day with a natural endorphin rush. That's a free painkiller on top of the ones you're already taking. So make sure you walk far enough if you can. And I empathize with the people who can't walk. I'm trying to give hope to the people who do have the ability to push. Guys, like I said, I was in the worst position, stuck in a bed. Not only that, but I was decayed. My body was decayed. 95 pounds. I wasn't even eating and I wasn't even drinking. I gave up. Because my abdominal sores were so bad I didn't have the meds to treat it, that I gave up. I was very close to palliative care. So I don't know what else I would add to this, but I'll try to think of something on top of this, and I'll try to finish this up. There are a lot of people out there with no hope, especially today, because of all the stuff that's happening in the world, period, right? If you're being treated with medication, I feel real bad for the people who can't get medication. And AA is the most painful disorder on earth. I don't know if you've ever had trigeminal neuralgia, like a real attack, that lasts like 45 minutes. That's more painful than AA. But AA overall is more painful because of what it does to your back and legs. Like, those are so important. Of course, I feel sorry for the people who get constant trigeminal neuralgia attacks, man. I feel sorry for you. That's your face. If you're in a space where you can do something about this, where you can get treatment, if you're in that place, I'm telling you, what I didn't say is this. There's a woman in my building who I helped get diagnosed. And her case is tragic. There are so many reasons why people have AA, right? Because of accidents and rods in their back, and it's horrible things that happen. I'm not talking, I am talking to them too. I'm talking more to the people. I'm talking to everyone, but I'm talking more to the people who do have that opportunity to do that. They're on meds. They have AA, but it's not, like I said, you don't have so much damage to your back. You have all the pain, but learn all those things. Go back on my video. I'm not sure if there's anything I forgot. Make sure you stay hydrated. Keep in shape if you can. Keep your discipline. Learn drug potentiation. Sleep is the most important of them all, for the reason that a good night's sleep equals another painkiller. So that's one thing. Learn to try to earn your free painkillers. So there's a free painkiller through sleep, free painkiller through exercise, and for me, there's a free painkiller through God. I read the scriptures. I study them. I've been studying them for a while now, and finding a lot of hope in there. God is real. The God of the Bibles. I believe if you put your faith in Him, He'll do things that you can't even imagine, that you wouldn't imagine where you'd ever be. So in 2015, when I was on my back, 95 pounds, could barely breathe, I wasn't getting more than 2 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period, like maybe a half an hour straight here and there, because I was passing out because I wasn't drinking. Now I'm on a street bike. Like I said, I'm not exalting myself. You know exactly what I'm saying. You have to try. There's a lot of suffering, and I could cry. I'm just thinking about all the things, all the hoops, all the different things that you're gonna encounter. And if someone showed you a piece of paper of all the things that you're going to have to go through to get to a certain point, you would give up. But don't look at it like that. Be anxious for nothing, right? You heard that in the scriptures? Be anxious for nothing, but by prayer and supplication. Fear comes from the devil, doesn't come from God. I deal with so much pain in my abdomen, you have no idea. 3 acute abdominal disorders. I would never wish this on anyone. It's so painful. And so I put up with constant burning and aching in my abdomen, pushing and crushing, and at the same time as I'm sitting here, my legs are just like on fire. My calves, there's like stings, and so the only thing is to employ those methods that I said. This is the most extensive that I can do. And Dr. Tennant, I did do this for you. I hope you can use it somehow, because I didn't keep the promise to myself that I said I was going to write all those parts. They're very descriptive stuff in there, and it's a very long story of suffering. So this is a better way to help people. And listen, I've been through all the different opiates, even fentanyl. I've been through ketamine treatments and all those things, and if that helps you, then that's great. I like to do things as natural as possible. I know you need meds with this. Believe me, I know you need meds. You're probably going to need opiates. Make sure you take a long acting. And to stay away from hyperalgesia, right? It's very important to stay away from hyperalgesia, which means your drugs stop working on you and you need higher doses. Everything I'm telling you, make sure to exercise, make sure to go for walks, make sure to drink water, make sure to get a good sleep. You can avoid that. You can live without hyperalgesia. That's what I had. I went up to doses of hundreds of milligrams of methadone. The hyperalgesia was building up because I have a rare abdominal disorder, so it made it very difficult to work. You can get out of hyperalgesia. Message me if this is you. I would help you. So anyways, guys, Dr. Tennant, God bless.